doing a VSR video breakdown on Brooklyn DeCocker. He was one of the kids. He's been with me for a while. He was one of the kids that I tested through the went through all the off-season stuff. We tested him, I think, the first week in November, and then tested him again the last week in January. I'm not going to put his numbers up. I mean, he was up like 2.4 miles per hour, which is still legit, but I can tell you right now that's not the test that he wanted to have. So I'm going to take that into account, and also because there was still stuff that we needed to clean up in his delivery. So anyway, let's look at this. I'm just going to go through and kind of explain some of these things that we have worked on, that he needs to continue to refine, and the direction that we're going to be going from here. So looking at this video, this was somewhere towards the middle of December, I want to say. This is a pretty, I love this kid to death, man, but sometimes he just confuses the crap out of me because, and I'll explain why. Okay, so here's one thing. I joke with him and tell him that he's the reason that I lose sleep at night, but not really. This kid's legit, but sometimes he's got some moving parts that are difficult for me to kind of grasp. Okay, so if we're looking at this back foot back here, you can see that it hasn't gone off the mound yet. No real push into the front side, yet he's at foot strike. Okay, arms loaded. Okay, good. But the hips have not done really anything. Yet somehow right here, he comes into release and actually gets into a pretty decent stabilized leg through here. Okay, which just kind of works against the general rules of how you look at it. You know, I mean, if the better that you push out from back here, the more the hips turn and the straighter the leg gets. But for some reason, he's delayed this back here, hips still turn, then he gets into a pretty straight front leg. Now, him getting into a straight front leg actually isn't one of his tendencies. He actually pitches into a pretty bent front leg, which we've worked to fix. But other thing I want you to look at is how well he gets out on top right here. I mean, this through here, I mean, that's why that leg gets straight. So really good from landing there to getting into that line there. Okay, so that's good. But yet again, like I said, that deal back there is what I was kind of pointing to in this certain clip. Okay, now here is the day that we tested him. We worked from, let's see if I can get this to zoom in right. We worked from that point. I told him, I said, hey, one thing that we really got to focus on is what you are doing back here with your foot. We got to get you pushed out this way, getting into that front leg, getting it straight, and then getting over the top. Okay, so those were our focuses. So looking at this, look at that. So we get out to foot strike, pretty good there. That right there, I'll take that. Hips are pushed, shoulders are, well, let's see, where does he settle in? Right there. Okay, so pulling early here, you can tell. This is why with his test results, they were a little skewed. You can see he's pulling real early with that glove to kind of cheat his way into pushing that foot. And then that just affects his arm staying back as well as he can get it to stay back. So I'm happy with his clearance back here. Some of this other stuff, like I said, you can also watch his foot as it goes into the ground. He goes toe heel, which means there's an overload and he's kind of pushing like this instead of pushing, say, from where his hips were at the top here down in. So the last clip that I'm going to show you is going to be indicative of all of these things and why it's important for him to do it. Good backside, not good distraction, like I said. Okay, here's his other thing. Remember in that first clip how I showed him and his trunk position was like down into here, and that's why that leg got straight? Well, look at how high up he is when he's letting go of the ball. I mean, that is literally... I mean, that is a straight line. He's got to get out. I mean, he should be letting go of that ball like down there, even with more kind of trunk flexion, I guess you call it. I mean, like flexing forward. He's got to have more, he's got to be out on top of that ball. I'm going to do a pitch design. I'm going to do a like a grip analysis pitch design type of thing and show you his release point in another video, and you can see how high he is letting go of the ball. Got to get him driving down the mound, pulling down on that ball. So that right there is just kind of, that's not a very forceful position to be letting go of the ball. You want to be driving it downhill. Okay. So again, some good things happening there, some not good things happening there. Okay, here's a drill that I had him do. Oh, another thing that we'll go back and look at right here. I did have him kind of starting to do this now. He was another one of these guys that really had to learn how to control his body. When I first started working with him, he fell so hard down the mound that nothing had time to get working. So you can see right here as he lifts his leg, a little bit of slight movement, not much going forward. But right here, as we start looking at this drill, wrong way. As we start looking at what I was having him do here, see as he's lifting, he's getting himself moving. Hips are starting to gain momentum this way. So was one thing I said, hey, I think to get yourself on top of the ball more, I know for a fact you've got to get down the mound. Like, you got to accelerate yourself down the mound. Let's make sure I got this right. Good enough. So one thing that I was having him do was kind of that position there, like getting himself into his leg right here. And then pushing himself out. That right there is actually what he usually pitches into. Some of these videos don't exactly show that. One thing I was telling him is I said, hey, this right here with your foot, you gotta get that thing turned over. Your foot's got to be facing out that way. Get that ankle turned, get that knee involved, and get that hip turned around. So he understood that and made a really good adjustment. So I've kind of been bagging on him in this breakdown, but he can take it, because honestly, I'm probably harder on this kid than any other kid that I work with, just because I know what he can be. Okay, now we're looking at this. Look at that lift. Look at him starting to gain momentum. This is what his delivery needs to look like. Look at that right there. Okay? Here's where he is the best. Good equal opposite. Okay? That high glove for him makes him so nasty when he is working good. When he's not working good, it works completely against him, because he lets go of the ball basically at an 180-degree angle. I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. 180 degrees, basically straight up and down, he's letting go of the ball. So he's got to get on top of the ball, and this is designed to go from here, kind of as an extra lever going up to pull himself over the top, to get this arm to get there, okay? Watch this. Okay, now we're seeing what he can do. Look at this. Could still get a little more turn in this foot. But look at this. Shoulders back. Arm up. Leg stable. Glove pull to chest. There. Okay. Leg doesn't need to be exactly, I mean, the straighter you can get it, the better. But I mean, I'm just going to let this roll because this is seriously one of his best reps ever. We put a ball in his hand after this, and he threw really well. Look at that. I mean, that position right there is so good. And the other thing that frustrates me about him is he's athletic as can be. I mean, he really is. He's flexible, he's strong, he's quick. But if he doesn't work to get into these positions, I mean, look at his arm getting out on top right there. That's where he should be letting go of the ball. Boom. Great job, dude. I know I freaking wear you out sometimes, but you know what? There's a reason for it. You'll thank me one day. So anyway, really proud of this kid. Kid puts the work in. I mean, to just looking at it like this, I mean, the kid gained like 2.5 legitimate miles per hour in the off season, and we both weren't like stoked on his test. So, I mean, he has a ceiling that only he is going to decide how high that can be. And he's got to keep putting the work in, which he does too. He works tirelessly, so that's why, I expect a lot of him, and I know that he will make those adjustments in due time. So I'm going to try to get some game footage of him within the next couple days, see how he's been throwing, and get him up for his weekly stuff from now on. All right, thanks.